Hello, my name is Devin Young. I had insomnia for 19 years, and despite not seeing any success with conventional medications, methods, or treatments, I persisted and I cured my insomnia. And now I'm here to help you guys cure your insomnia because this shit is awful and horrible. And just enough said, let's get to it. So, in this video, I'm going to tell you guys about the types of insomnia and kind of help you understand it through the use of this article. I'm going to go through the article and then I'm going to explain my thoughts on these types of insomnia so you can understand what type you fall into and how to best treat that type of insomnia because it is all different. One type of insomnia is not the same as another. So let's get to it. It's an interesting article. So start here. There we go. What are the different types of insomnia? So not all cases of insomnia are identical. Makes sense. So here at the beginning, we have short-term insomnia. Excuse me. Short-term insomnia or adjustment insomnia. So this is essentially, I wouldn't really call this insomnia. I would just call this trouble sleeping. Right here it says you're having a stressful event, life event, losses a loved one, disconcerting medical diagnosis, pandemic, interesting, rebounding from the cessation of a drug, relationship change. I would even add the use of a new stimulant, the use of new medications. I would add changes in behavior. I would add even like seasonal affective disorder contributing to insomnia. I would put that in short-term insomnia. I would put short-term insomnia, and for me, short-term insomnia is any type of insomnia that has a simple solution. So with seasonal affective disorder, that can often be solved by vitamin D. Take vitamin D, seasonal affective disorder can resolve itself because a lot of that is just vitamin D deficiency. So short-term insomnia, in my opinion, not really insomnia. It's more of trouble sleeping. Just kind of a simple thing. So let's go on to chronic insomnia, and I'll explain how these are different. So chronic insomnia is a long-term pattern of difficulty sleeping. I would say this has been, if this insomnia has been around 6 months, a year, longer than a year, definitely, longer than 6 months, very likely. But 6 months to a year, often decades, even 20 years, a lifetime. Chronic insomnia is considered chronic insomnia. A person has trouble falling asleep or staying asleep at least 3 nights per week for 3 months or longer. Oh my God. Yeah, that's very, very mild for most of the people that I work with and talk to, and myself who's had chronic insomnia. So it's a very mild case, but yeah, I would say that still definitely qualifies. Trouble falling asleep or staying asleep for at least 3 nights per week for 3 months. Like that sucks. It's bad. Losing any sleep is bad, no matter where you are in the suffering. It's all bad. Some people with chronic insomnia have a long history of difficulty sleeping, inability to get to sleep. Chronic insomnia has many potential causes, like acute insomnia, can be tied to stressful situations. So this is made regularly by irregular sleep schedule, poor sleep hygiene, persistent nightmares, mental health disorders, underlying physical and neurological problems. I say a lot of this, definitely. Medications, potentially a bed partner, interesting. And certain other sleep disorders. Oftentimes I see people talking about sleep apnea. They're like, oh, we did a sleep study. It turns out I have sleep apnea. Okay. Interesting. Well, what's causing the sleep apnea? Still don't know. What is sleep apnea? What causes sleep apnea? All very good questions. How is sleep apnea different from insomnia? Are the causes linked? Are the causes separate? So chronic insomnia, they don't really, so they're right here, they're sharing very little about what they think causes it. My experience that causes chronic insomnia is thyroid issues, autoimmune issues, inflammation issues, and then another condition I just call progressive failure syndrome, which I have other videos on. So chronic insomnia, very bad. Chronic insomnia is a chronic health condition, is when the sleep mechanism in your brain is not working. This can be very extreme. In my own personal experience with chronic insomnia, I would go days and weeks without sleeping very, very frequently. It felt like the sleep mechanism was broken. I would just be up. I would be completely exhausted and tired to the point of wishing I were dead sometimes, but I would be unable to fall asleep and I wouldn't be sleepy. It was like And this is very common for people with chronic insomnia, such as I experience, and such as the people I work with experience, that you will be very exhausted, very tired, but not sleepy. It's a very peculiar feeling. You know it if you've had it, but only if you've had it. So chronic insomnia, very common with chronic insomnia. The sleep mechanism is broken. Another thing with chronic insomnia, excuse me, is that chronic insomnia can come and go. So many people I've talked to and worked with chronic insomnia have, and myself even, I would have periods where insomnia would abate. I would start sleeping again somewhat regularly to go from 0 to 2 hours a night to 4 to 5 hours a night most nights. Some nights even get 8. It was super exciting, wonderful times, and they would never last. And I'd be right back to just misery. And it was very confusing for me because the irregularity of all this made it very hard for me to understand, well, what's actually causing this? What factors are causing me to not sleep? What factors are not causing me to not sleep? I went through all this stuff. I thought I was like, I must, because the room is too warm, the room is too cold, the blanket is too hot. Like, I tried like weighted blankets, sleeping in a cold room, sleeping in a warmer room, sleeping in a warmer room with no clothes on, every variation of that. Every variation of supplement, herb, etc. None of these things are having an effect. Another thing with chronic insomnia is drugs don't work. Like this is, I mean, you can have chronic insomnia and drugs still work. It kind of depends on how far gone you are, let's say. For me, drugs did not work at all. Many of the people I work with, drugs do not work. For other people I talk to and work with, drugs do work a little bit. Other people, drugs work great. Some people are literally fine just taking drugs. They're like, yeah, I have chronic insomnia, but I take the drugs and I kind of get sleep every night and it works. That's cool. That's really, I mean, it's still chronic insomnia, but I mean, at least you're sleeping. A lot of other people with chronic insomnia, drugs don't work, or they work and then they stop working, and you need to take absurd doses, keep increasing the dose, just all these issues with medications not working, herbs not working, supplements not working, all these things not working. I think that these are all very indicative of chronic insomnia. I think you can have chronic insomnia without these other hallmarks, but in my personal experience, and what I do is talk to people about their health, specifically their sleep, specifically people with with insomnia about their health and sleep on the internet all day. So talk to a lot of people, and very common is this comorbidity of drugs not working, which is really interesting that we have these drugs for insomnia and they work really well with short-term insomnia, or as I put it, sleep challenges. You don't really have insomnia, you just have difficulty sleeping because it goes away. And so, I mean, insomnia is a condition, in my experience, opinion, and linguistic, I don't know, the way I use language, I think insomnia is like a condition that you're stuck in for a long period of time. The same way that, I mean, like any health issue, you know what I'm saying? Like depression, for instance. Like, let's just use this for depression. So short-term depression, well, a loved one dies and now you have short-term depression. Is that depression? Well, yeah, I mean, you're depressed, you're definitely feeling depression, or you're feeling depressed, you're feeling sad, you're feeling these things that are similar to depression, but that's not depression. The depression isn't caused by a logical thing, otherwise it wouldn't be depression, it would just be being sad. In the same way, insomnia, if you have insomnia because you're withdrawing from a drug, you're like stressed out about shit, you don't really have insomnia. You have sleep difficulties, and these can still be treated and helped and worked on, and we can get rid of these. But it's not really insomnia unless there's like, you're like, I have no idea why this is happening to me. But there's risks though, because sometimes we can say, I have no idea why this is happening to me, or I know why this is happening to me, and we're wrong. I mean, we could say, I know why this is happening, and be completely wrong. I was many times about my own insomnia. I thought it was macronutrient ratios. I thought it was supplementation. I thought it was hygiene, sleep hygiene. I thought it was water intake. I thought it was exercise. I thought it was sun exposure. I thought it was meditation. I thought it was CBTI. I thought it was all of these things and more. And it kind of was. Like, they all helped and they all worked together. But it wasn't the root issue, and I had to get to the root issue, and I didn't know what the root issue was for years and years and years and years and years, and that's why it took me so long. Maybe that's why it's taking you so long to fix your insomnia. Maybe you just don't know what's causing it. You're like, I don't know, I can't sleep, this is ruining my life. I feel like I'm gonna die. I can't sleep. I don't know why. I have a bunch of theories. None of them make any sense really because they're not consistent. Chronic insomnia, terrible place to be, but let's move on. Other ways of describing insomnia: sleep onset insomnia. So this is being unable to get to bed within a reasonable frame of time. You go to bed and you can't sleep. Very, very common with insomnia is that you just will be unable to get to sleep. When you get to sleep, you'll wake up again. Sleep maintenance insomnia, the ability to stay asleep. These two go together for obvious reasons. I mean, if you have chronic insomnia, you probably have both. Early morning awakening insomnia, again, kind of goes hand in hand with it. And then mixed insomnia. So for most people that I work with who have chronic insomnia, it's mixed insomnia, according to this. And then comorbid insomnia. Insomnia is a secondary condition. So this would be more progressive failure syndrome that I described. Such as your gastrointestinal system gets stressed, your endocrine system gets stressed, your thyroid gets stressed. Any of these secondary conditions can also contribute to insomnia. And yeah, and like that's if that's what's going on, it's very important to make sure you understand what the condition is and also understand that many of these conditions are autoimmune related, inflammation related, and that dealing with these things on that level will help you make the most progress. So wrapping up on types of insomnia, it's very important to know what type of insomnia you have. If you have the short-term sleep difficulties, as I like to call it, then you could probably be well suited by going to a normal naturopathic doctor, going to your normal doctor. Medication might work for you, but you might want to stay away because it's not really addressing the root cause. If it's stress, you might say, okay, I'm just going to take some medication. It's going to help me out for the short term. Then I'm going to get off it once the stressful event is over. That works for some people. Short-term insomnia, though, it's more about like, okay, well, this has happened. Let's see what's going on. See if we can figure out what's going on, and then try to resolve it if it doesn't resolve on its own. I mean, you could be a very, very common one I see is people consuming caffeine in excess or consuming caffeine and alcohol and then depleting their body of electrolytes, sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and then having difficulty sleeping because their body can't relax due to lack of electrolytes. They're like, oh, I get an occasional insomnia. That's the thing I've heard a lot. I get occasional insomnia. And I'll say, well, do you consume caffeine? They say, yes, I do consume caffeine. Okay, and do you ever consume alcohol? I'm like, I do consume alcohol. I'm like, well, when do you tend to get insomnia? And they say, well, I tend to get insomnia when I drink alcohol. I'm like, okay, well, insomnia induced by alcohol in a regular caffeine drinker is low electrolytes. The double diuretic effect of the caffeine and the alcohol is draining your body of electrolytes. And that is what's causing the insomnia. So that'd be an example of short-term insomnia. Identify it short-term, understand it, and then what do I do about it? Also prevent short-term insomnia from becoming long-term insomnia. If you were to become a regular drinker, caffeine drinker, and just continue doing that and not sleeping, you would experience thyroid breakdowns, hormonal breakdowns, and then these would in turn create comorbid insomnia. So that would be you have insomnia because of the electrolyte issues, but also now thyroid and hormonal issues that came from that. So don't let it get worse. With chronic insomnia, it's very, 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 very important to get to work with someone who has experience fixing chronic insomnia. Because like really like find someone who's had chronic insomnia, whether that's me or someone else, and work with them. Really, really brutal. It's really brutal. I mean, the stats are horrifying. Most people with chronic insomnia, like really bad chronic insomnia, end up killing themselves. Very, I make sense. I struggled with like suicidal thoughts myself when I was in the depths of misery that is like weeks of not sleeping, like a 1 week, 2 weeks. Like I've hit, I like pain, just the pain, the never ending pain of it, the unrelenting pain as your mind erodes and you lose any willpower and energy you have to try to keep your sanity together and you just like want it to end. Yeah, so chronic insomnia, it's fucking horrible. I mean, it's ruining your life. It's sucking the life out of you. It's literally like these days and weeks and months you're never going to get back. It's destroying your health because you can't recover physically. Your body can't take care of itself. can't produce proper hormones because you're not sleeping, especially with the really severe cases. Chronic insomnia, like acknowledge how bad it is and just be willing to do anything to fix it. Like contact everyone. Like contact me, contact everyone to fix this. Just everyone you can think of, because someone might have the answer and then you can stop suffering. It's join my Facebook group down below. I have a Facebook group dedicated to helping people with chronic insomnia. A lot of great resources there. You can get a lot of one-on-one help if you need it. Very, 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 very great resource. But really though, like it's bad. Chronic insomnia, like really take that seriously and like take it to the bank and try to fix that. And be willing to do anything, like I said, because with this sort of issue where you're just not sleeping and drugs aren't working and all this stuff, like this is the precondition to cancer and a miserable life. And I could go on and on about it, but find help for it. If you guys got chronic insomnia, find help for that. Link in the description down below if you want to join my Facebook group or contact me personally for help. Hope this has been helpful, guys. Done.